So I wanted to finally give you an update on the Thailand travel restrictions and when we think that they're going to open up. Sorry for the delay in this video, but there hasn't been a lot of news. Everything's been kind of the status quo before up until this point, so that's why I did not bother to shoot a recent video. If you're here for a Star Wars video, I'll have that up coming soon. And then the shoe video, yes, I do need to do a couple of those. I'll try to get to those. But in the meantime, let me kind of read off the notes that I have here. So the Center for COVID-19 administration decided this past Friday to allow for the reopenings of eateries, some shopping, the malls, some stadiums, and public parks. Um, and that will have started, basically at the beginning of September. And they want to ease into the situation because the lockdown has been going on for longer than a month. And as we all know, in Thailand, most Thais, work in a situation where they're basically paycheck to paycheck, mouth to mouth, right, and hand to mouth, basically. So they have gotten to the realization, the cabinet, Prayut, the prime minister, and government officials realize, hey, the people have spoken. They've let us know that regardless of the situation, we've got to open up or have some sort of game plan to slowly open and learn to basically live with the situation and realize that this is something that we have to learn to deal with. Okay. And so they want to basically, exact words here is, we must adapt to coexist safely with the disease. Strategies will change in the way that the disease control will go along with the economic recovery, because back in its earlier days, or in the first year, it was, we're going to wait this out, then we're going to open up. And they've basically have realized through a lot of hardships that they can't wait for it to completely go away, and that may not be realistic. So the reopening that occurred this past prior Wednesday, business including restaurants, shopping malls, strip malls, individual mom and pop stores, some venues such as stadiums and parks, in most provinces have opened back up. And then there is still some outbreaks in certain concentrated areas in the red dark zone, which is, of course, the first and foremost of those areas is, of course, Bangkok. With the construction going on, construction camps, and a number of factories in those areas, those are the ones that are the most heavily hit in terms of still trying to keep the numbers manageable. Now, just to give you an update on the numbers, for the longest time, there was over 20,000 new cases of COVID happening on a daily basis. Those numbers have come down quite a bit, and we're talking in the ranges of about 15,000 now. So it's a good trend to see those numbers decreasing day by day, week by week. Now, the number of deaths per day has slightly dipped, but still hovering in the low to mid 200s. But we figure that, or they figure that, as these numbers are coming down, it's gonna follow the same trend of new infections, where the numbers are a little bit delayed, but then we'll hopefully see those numbers go down too. Now, basically, when it comes to the restaurants, open air places can use 75% of the seating, and for air conditioned restaurants and stores, they can go ahead and have 50% occupancy. And those mostly apply to restaurants, sit down dining, coffee shops, and cafes, right? And then they have some rules about dressers, and of course massage shops. At massage shops, they're only allowing foot only massages, and then at the hairdressers, you can get a haircut, but perms and anything that takes a little bit longer, you're not allowed to go ahead and provide those services. Now, they got a lot of information that's a little more detailed, but it's not really applicable to our conversation, so I'll go ahead and skip those. What you want to know is, when can I travel to Thailand? Well, as we all know, almost 100 days ago, Prayut had come out and said, the Prime Minister of Thailand had come out and said, within 120 days, we want to be fully open for foreign tourism. Well, that puts us in the middle-ish part of October. And so we're very fast approaching a 1 month deadline before that occurs. Is that realistic? Well, we're slowly but surely, little bits are coming out saying that maybe we need to push that back a little bit. Now, the blowback is the general population, businesses, companies, they've basically said, look, we have been closed far too long. Not only is it financially not possible for us, our employees, and dealing with vendors, but also the well-being of the business itself. We can't survive and be around when this is all over if we don't open up soon. And so, although we're starting to hear creeping information about delaying and extending the restrictions, there's far greater information coming out and voices coming out saying, hey, let's not go ahead and go that route because we just can't survive. And so I think there's going to be a real strong push to keep that middle of October deadline in place. That they said with the higher concentration of COVID cases and deaths in Bangkok and just being more congested, maybe Bangkok may be delayed a little bit, but some of these other surrounding areas, whether it's Chonburi or Chiang Mai or Hua Hin, they are really shooting for that middle of October opening. And is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I don't really know. I mean, everything changes. I think it's hard to come up with a game plan until we get closer to that deadline, right? I think within 2 weeks of when they actually plan on doing this and opening it up, if we see the numbers looking really good, then I think they can move forward with it. If the numbers don't look good, then of course they may push it out 1 or 2 more weeks, and then one or two more months, and then kind of play it by ear. So I wish I can give you a definitive time and date, but it just is really hard. We got to get a little bit closer to the end of this month, early October 1st, and then we'll look at the numbers, and then I think that'll kind of really be the barometer and the factors that make the decision in terms of whether or not they can open back up. In terms of the sandbox model in Phuket, it's working just fine. They have the Koh Samui Plus program up and running too. That's doing just fine. The only big deterrent is, of course, the 7, 10, or 14-day quarantine, depending on the time of year and exactly, depending on, what's going on in the surrounding areas. But whether it's 7-day quarantine, 10-day quarantine, 14-day quarantine, I think people have gotten to the point of, especially foreigners, that they are unwilling to quarantine that long of a period of time. Plus, the paperwork is enormous. You get inundated with so much paperwork and so many emails back and forth that I think a lot of people have decided, hey, what's realistic is I can't come and travel back into Thailand until quarantine is fully lifted and that mountain of paperwork is not required. And so I think when those two things happen, you will see people coming back. Now, will they come in droves? Probably unlikely. People have to plan their vacations well in advance. I think most of my friends, they're not going to just be able to hop on a plane and come see me in Thailand. So they're going to go ahead and they have to plan, maybe 3 to 6 months out. So I think the trickle-in effect will be fine because you don't want, the doors to open and it be a massive exodus into the country. So I think what'll happen is once they do allow foreign tourism to occur, it'll slowly trickle in. And I think because it's such a good touristy hotspot, I think those numbers will over time increase pretty dramatically. Unlike other destinations that are not quite as popular, Thailand, one of the great things for what they have going on is they have so much to offer, and it is already such a great tourist destination that once it does get off the ground and people see that working, I think they'll start coming slowly but surely, and then eventually into big droves. And so that's a little bit about what's going on here in early September. As soon as I get more additional information that is relevant and enough information, I'll go ahead and shoot another video. I do promise to get you the next Star Wars video and the shoe video out as soon as possible. Thanks and have a great day, guys.